I think, covered a lot of the territory I wanted to, but there probably are some questions. And Ted, did you want to referee them?
Have you done any rectification work using the Scorpio rising chart with the ascendant and midheaven to sort of like check the timing on that?
I certainly did. In fact, that's why it's 2:19, 2:19 p.m. because when I came across it, it was 2:20, and I used that for a couple of years. But then I fine-tuned it. Of course, we're talking about 1 minute difference, 2:20 to 2:19. But yeah, over a period of time, yeah, it is now rectified, and that was, you know, what I had shown you just now tonight was just examples of just right how accurate it is.
I have a question, Stephen.
Sure.
So, will you have any comment on the cyber hacking that just occurred? I believe it was day before yesterday. Let's see, the 17th. The moon was in Capricorn, conjunct Saturn and Jupiter, and square Uranus. So you probably pretty severe entry into that conjunction.
Okay, you know, I'm not aware of the cyber hacking, and I don't know who was involved and what was the attack focus.
Was all the internal infrastructure of the United States. I don't even know what to call it. All of the systems, defense and internal investigations and communication. It's been hacked supposedly by Russia, and there's been no comment by the White House, and people are freaking out, and it's been going on for quite a while, 8 months, and they have no idea how severe it is, but nuclear information, all kinds of things.
Hmm.
So that's kind of, I hate to take the Saturn route to this conjunction, but real.
Mm-hmm.
So you have
yeah. Well, that reminds me a little bit more of, again, going back to the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, because, you know, prior to that, as well as is going on right now, kind of like the conspiracy focus, even go back to the autumn of 2017, when Jupiter went into Scorpio and Neptune was in Pisces, of course. And that was when QAnon and a lot of other, you know, behind the scenes types of conspiracy theories came up, kind of agitating a lot of people. And from there, there's been many, you know, different attacks right now. But the Saturn-Pluto conjunction here, I'd like to also say that there was a Pluto-Mercury conjunction in that very same thing. I mean, they were all like so close together. And a couple of points here about that, yeah, Pluto-Mercury. There was a book here recently, actually 2019, so it fits into this, on surveillance capitalism. And really emphasizing, and there's been many reports about this since then, that our data as individuals are commodities to be collected, bought, and sold, mostly without our consent. And that we have like big data sorts of things, and social media companies, I mean, that's how they make a lot of their money, you know. So when Facebook, for instance, say that, oh, it's not going to cost us anything, it's going to cost us our data, and we are being watched.
One thing on the hack is I've heard it described as real 21st century espionage, and with, you know, with Saturn and Jupiter entering into Aquarius, but the effects of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction still sort of lingering on and traveling with it. Aquarius being a sign that is associated with electronics and with the internet and all, and so it would seem sort of fitting, and Pluto, of course, I think having a strong espionage association, that all gets wrapped up together.
Yes, yes, I must admit that does make some sense for sure. And I'm reminded here of the uh, the eclipse that just happened. And of course, it's happening just days after that. Remembering now that I haven't even heard about this attack, I've been focused upon some other things. But the eclipse kind of being pointed up. I'm going to now again bring up the U.S. chart that I use. Can you see that?
I'd also like to add in one of the senators, I don't know if it was Romney or somebody, said this is equal to, they're calling it an act of war. That's
Yeah, which is,
no energy.
yeah, which is why I'm bringing up this chart here. I had said that it was 23 degrees Sagittarius, this last eclipse. Can you see the U.S. chart in front of you?
Yes.
Opposite that, take a look in the U.S. chart here at 21 degrees Gemini in the 8th house. So yeah, an eclipse on the south node, they're opposing that Mars in the U.S. Mercury right there. So yeah, if we're talking about attacks and it's a cyber attack, it's Mercury. So I'd have to say that just with what you've told me, that one can take a look at the recent eclipse and say, there it is, against the United States there. I'd also like to point out too that the U.S. has always had that Mars 21 squaring Neptune 22 in Virgo, and I think of Mars, of course, it's connected to, in nations, it would be policemen, National Guards, military, and so forth, also emergency medical people, etc. Classic Mars sorts of things. Neptune, especially in Virgo, would represent the servile and the helpers and the servants and the reluctant servants who were the slaves. And with that square, they were forced to be slaves. And that has always been there in the United States chart, as well as in the United States psyche, forever, the whole time.
I'd just like to mention that this hacking was affected the whole world. It's not just the United States.
Ah, okay.
Also, just on another track, what would you say is the planet that has the most to do with racism or races? Would it be Pluto, Neptune?
Are we talking about being racist or just like representing large groups of people?
First, races, individualizing races.
I take a look at all the different planets of kind of like a less developed and a more developed appreciation or expression of each of them. And so they all can show, let's say, negative or positive traits depending upon the evolution of the individual it's expressed through. And so if we're talking about, racism, that could be a classic, just, straight out Mars, knee-jerk reaction towards things and, goods and bad and who is my enemy. But it also could, the moon could move in that direction too. This is us, this is our clan, we are the good guys and you are on the outside. So again, that could be, that's how I perceive it.
Great, thank you so much, Stephen.
Okay, I have a question.
Yeah.
Marion Jones, I finally unmuted myself.
Hi, Marion.
Hi. You mentioned Saturn and Neptune going into Aries. And so I take it from your calculations, they weren't conjunct till they were in 1 degree of Aries. And right, that
Yeah, I got that calculation from my solar fire.
right. So what I was interested in, it was pointed out to me that in 2025, Pluto it will be in 0 Aquarius, and Uranus will be in 0 Gemini, and Saturn and Neptune will be in 0 Aries. Did you talk about that and I missed it? Or
Nope,
that's
nope,
all
nope.
happened?
No, I didn't talk about that. I know about it. That looks very exciting. It's very interesting. I didn't want to make it so long. I felt already that I was like covering lots of different topics and territories. So I tried to control myself.
Right. So, it's all happening then in 2020, 25, 26, and that'll be a big transformation, hopefully positive.
Exactly, and this is, following on the footsteps of the Pluto return in the United States. And when Pluto goes into this next sign of Aquarius, there can be more revolutionary instigations, but maybe for the good of all, for the good of many people, especially since we're in this great mutation of the Aquarius and the air signs. So I think that ultimately, a lot of those things, and there's really quite a few here in the 2020s, there's going to be some people who are going to resist, and there's going to be people who are going to say, yay, let's do it.
So I have a question now. You were talking about the Pluto return. So when does that become exact? Or at what stage of it?
According to my calculations, it's going to be also in early 2022. But of course, Pluto is always very slow, and it goes back and forth, and so I wouldn't put it on a particular month or a year. But as I said, I think it already started here, 2019, on into probably 2025.
Right. So so that is they're like Aries, Aquarius, Gemini. So.
Yeah, very powerful.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Anyone else?
I'll say about the Pluto return that I think, the one factor there, I mean, it's confronting the dark shadow of the nation. And of course, the dark shadow of this nation is slavery. And I think we've seen that confrontation begin, particularly with the Black Lives Matter movement and all the exposure that, not that many of us weren't aware of it before, but the George Floyd killing certainly brought it into a far greater public consciousness. It's going to be interesting to see whether that continues and how it is processed, whether the nation is finally going to positively process that, or whether there's going to be, because whenever you have that kind of strong transformative energy, you also have a strong resistance and a strong desire to subconsciously bury it and suppress it. And so I think it's going to be very interesting to see which forces win out in the end, and if we can successfully go through that transformation that the Pluto return promises, or hopefully it will not be a failed attempt.
Exactly, right. Yeah, very good, Ted. And I'm reminded many times that very strong lights bring also very strong shadows. If I invite other people now, you can turn your cameras back on and join a larger discussion. I'm not going to be probably sharing the my screen anymore with some of my other things. So you come out from the shadows. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello.
Someone was asking, you know, do I think this is the age of Aquarius? And my general feeling is that the age of Aquarius officially began when the ruler of Aquarius was discovered. And of course, that was in 1781. That was, as I said, the midpoint of the French Revolution, the American Revolution, you know, and that's very Uranian, but also the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and a time when all of the salons and the Masonic lodges and the gentlemen scientists were all getting together to compare their notes on what was happening with this new thing called electricity and other innovations. And it was all happening around that very time, that very exciting time. And so I think that we're, you know, well underway with Aquarius. And just the fact that we're talking, you know, on Zoom, on our laptops or computers, you know, it's like, this is not Pisces.
It would seem that the planetary influences have an evolutionary spiral along with the humans, because that particular expression of the Aquarian energy has grown quite a bit from discussion in salons and civilized behavior, well, more or less, we don't know what was going on behind the scenes, of course, but into, you know, what's going on today with just the vile vitriol that, you know, pervades this cyberspace and other, you know, warlike things. So there's an interesting correlation between in the evolutionary track, I think, between the planets and the human beings.
Yes, yes. You know, as a hypnotist, I'm always fascinated with the larger implications of hypnosis and mass hypnosis, therefore. And in the 1920s and 1930s, a lot of the ideas from Sigmund Freud talking about the unconscious was then brought over into the United States through his nephew. His name is Bernays, I think. And he was kind of like the father of PR, of public relations, but it was an offshoot of the reactions from the First World War, when they say, my goodness, people were crazy. And then Freud had a theory of why they had all of these terrible unconscious reactions to things. And so from that point, the governments around the world wanted to say, oh my goodness, we have to channel this. We have to, you know, watch out, you know, that the populace, the public does not get out of hand, because look what they did, forgetting the fact that it was the governments that started the wars. Did you all see the BBC series, Century of the Self?
No.
It's highly recommended, and it goes into this subject in detail. It's only 4 segments in the series, and it goes from that time, from Sigmund Freud and how it came over here to the United States. And the governments wanted to use it to control people, and then the corporations, the businesses, wanted to use it to get people to buy things that they did not need.
Well, back in the early days, like in the 60s, I guess we heard about the big buzzword was Madison Avenue, right? And we were being sort of told that we were being programmed to buy based on the advertising. So
yeah.
Of course, the government.
Remember the subliminal advertising phase, you know, when they were saying, oh, look, it looks like it's just a picture of some ice. But you look closer, you know, and you can see those copulations going on, and but that makes people thirsty. You know, it's like, what? But that was when in the 80s, when Pluto was going through its own sign, Scorpio, and people were just like analyzing a little bit too much. However, you know, having said all that, we are being manipulated, And then we've got these subgroups having their own news channels. I will not name which ones, that are basically indoctrinating their followers with a slant on reality. And again, as a hypnotist, I'm looking at that and say, yep, you can do that. We don't want to do that. It should not be done, but you can do that.
Power to the people.
Really. And that's connected to this new Aquarian phase. And I think by the time we get into 2026, when we see that things are ramped up here with the Neptune Saturn going into Aries, then the people are going to kind of have enough of things, I think. And they're going to say, well, you know, power to the people indeed. And there might be some revolutions at that point.
Well, hot, hot, hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you,
Well,
Stephen.
You
So,
betcha. You know, all in all, I'd say that as difficult it is, and looking at those really interesting but kind of problematic Saturn-Pluto alignments and seeing those patterns as they're connected to illnesses, but it's all connected to also, are we taking care of the earth? Are we taking care of our fellow sentient beings and the animals in the animal kingdom? And when it's filthy, when it's dirty, I mean, there's going to be, you're going to get sick, you know, and it goes back, a blowback here upon the humans. So having said that, I'm really glad to see this Jupiter and Saturn and Aquarius and the beginning of this, you know, air, a more thoughtful phase, a more progressive phase, just moving on, looking on to the next 200 years.
being in an air signs, it's kind of, I see it as a cleansing of the consciousness, since dirty, well, moldy thinking creates the environment for,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
right.
Well, good. Yeah, thank you again for listening, and thanks for the invitation. And is there anything else that you, Ted, or Ronnie, or other members of Asheville would like to say to conclude? I recognize that I've got the power to end this.
Right. I will just again remind everyone to go to the PayPal site and appreciate our speaker. Want to thank you, Stephen, for a great informative talk. We had a good turnout, and I think everyone enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Yes, my pleasure too. Nice seeing some familiar faces again. And yeah, let's also recognize that another factor of this Aquarian phase coming up is that more power to the astrologers and to the metaphysicians. There's going to be more respect, and we're going to have more opportunities, I think.
Let's hope.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
Good.
you.
All right. Bye.
Many blessings. Thank you.
Thank you.